Good morning, starshine.
Flower Beauty Foam Primer, I think yes. Like, how satisfying.
You have the ability to influence the world in many ways. Ways that could be great. And ways that could be ugly. Now we see that there's an ugliness to this. All I ask is do the right thing, TikTok. Do the right thing.
TikTok is one of the most popular social media platforms that exists today. Almost 70% of kids between the ages of 13 to 17 are on TikTok on a daily basis, using it more than all of those other platforms that have existed in our lives. One of their greatest strengths is that it's so popular for kids, but that has also become one of its biggest weaknesses. Not only do you have some of the youngest users in the world of social media, we're also seeing content that is proliferating through the app that can be potentially harmful to kids. We're seeing disordered eating content. We're seeing posts about suicide and self-harm. We're also seeing dangerous and in some cases deadly challenges.
I'm so protective of the outside. I never thought I'd have to be protective of the inside. A social media app. I never thought in my mind that that could ever result to me losing my daughter. I am here because I don't want any more children to die. I don't want any mother or father to feel the pain and the heartache and the brokenness that we feel every single day, because this is hard.
One of the biggest issues that TikTok is facing today is the blackout challenge. This is a challenge where children are choking themselves until they lose consciousness and then filming the adrenaline rush they get when they wake up.
This game involves individuals holding their breath.
We have seen a number of children die participating in this challenge across the United States and also around the world.
Families are suing TikTok after
Now we're seeing lawsuits being filed against TikTok, raising the question of who is responsible, who is liable for these deaths.
The only thing that's certain about this case is the incredible opposition that we're going to face at every step of the way. The last thing in the world these companies want to do is stand up in front of a jury and explain to them why their profits were more important than life. Our entire society is bleeding, and our children are dying. And unless we do something to change that, this is going to keep happening.
My question to TikTok is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to change this platform? Because at this point, it's not safe for anyone, and it's definitely not safe for any child.
For the last 25 years, my practice has focused on compensating victims who are injured by corporate misconduct. I've recovered over $1 billion on behalf of families who've lost loved ones. Most of my cases have involved asbestos victims. I wanted to do something not simply to compensate victims, but to see if I could use the legal system to have less victims in the first place. Frances Haugen released her papers on what the social media companies knew, and that reminded me of what the asbestos companies knew, only worse.
The choices being made inside of Facebook are disastrous for our children, for our public safety, for our privacy, and for our democracy. We can have social media we enjoy. We can do better.
These companies make the asbestos companies look like choir boys. These companies know that children are being injured as they speak, right now. And more importantly, they continue to target children through their algorithms. The goal is to addict children to their products. Children are being directed toward material that they don't want to see for purposes of engagement. That's what these algorithms are designed to do.
The Social Media Victims Law Center is based in Seattle. It's a small team of lawyers that are taking on the biggest companies in the world, filing cases against social media platforms. Their cases include suicide on the apps, children who have attempted the blackout challenge and tragically died, or kids who have been sent down eating disordered rabbit holes who have ended up in hospital over the content that they've been served through TikTok and other platforms. What the centre is really hoping to achieve is to push social media companies to accept a level of responsibility over these cases and put children's best interests in front of profit.
Corporate misconduct is knowingly putting profits over people. It's knowing that your products hurt kids and knowing that you could make them better and intentionally making the decision not to do so because it would impair their profits. That to me is corporate misconduct. I think that as long as you have a profit model that is built first, last, and in the middle on user engagement, above and beyond all things, I think it's inevitable that you're going to have these kind of hazards and these kind of outcomes. My clients feel like if through this effort one child is saved, then it's been worth it.
We're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I've come down here to talk to the family of Ariane Arroyo. She was a 9-year-old girl who loved TikTok, and in February last year, she was trying the blackout challenge and she tragically died. Earlier this month, July of 2022, her family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against TikTok. I think the question of responsibility and liability of these social media platforms is a really big one. And I think this family is, wanting to raise that question. What kind of liability does TikTok have when its young users try these viral challenges and they have fatal consequences? Seems like a really nice, quaint, suburban area. It's so sad.
Eggie,
Peggy.
it's time to eat. Oh, I brought you a napkin.
Give me that one.
I want a cookie.
You have that. Is it warm?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. It's good.
I love you. Oh, good boy. Addie, she had this personality that wasn't afraid to take on the world. She wasn't afraid to take on a challenge. She wasn't afraid to do whatever she felt she wanted to do.
Yeah, she loved to sing in her room, and I mean you can hear her sing out of her lungs, just singing Alicia Keys' "This Girl's on Fire."
Yeah, that was her song.
It was, I mean, over and over, it would be, you could hear her singing her lungs out.
She was just so beautiful, too beautiful sometimes. I think we live in such an ugly world that she's too beautiful.
Why do you think TikTok was so intriguing to her?
I go back to the dancing and the singing, and it was not just that. All her friends, all her peers, everybody's doing the trends. It's
Right.
on TV. TikTok was for everybody. And it wasn't just a kid thing. It was an adult thing. It was a teenage thing. I mean, it was just a known app.
She's 9 years old. She's still a little kid and curious. We talked to her many times before about things like that, and we've also even warned her of things. So we thought we were on great track. It's not something that we would say would be any harm or dangerous to her. It's a phone.
Do you know, prior to her death, how long she'd spend on TikTok?
Every day. Every single day.
Passion with don't care about what other people say about you. Be confident and be comfortable because everyone in this world is beautiful. So.
Social media challenges really started spreading throughout the pandemic when kids were unable to be in school, they were in isolation at home, and they were turning to social media to connect with their peers. And we saw some really cool challenges pop up. But as is always typical when kids are involved and when social media is involved, some of these challenges started to get edgier. They started to get a bit more dangerous.
I was doing the crate challenge.
In January 2021, we saw the first death associated with a challenge called the Blackout Challenge. This challenge has existed for decades. Now we have children filming themselves doing it, and it's spreading across social media, which is encouraging some of the youngest users on the platform to try this game or this challenge without realizing that it can be deadly.
This is Ariani right there. That's her. I wear this with me on most occasions.
You think of the happy moments, you think of the beautiful memories, but the fact that you're never going to create them again, we're all just very broken as a family, you know.
Ariani Arroyo was playing with her 4-year-old brother when she accidentally hanged herself. She'd been asking her parents for months to get a dog, and they'd finally agreed, and they'd bought a metal dog leash to show their children that they were willing to get a puppy. And Ariani and her brother were playing with this dog leash. She wrapped it around her neck and hooked the buckle onto the hinge of a wardrobe door. She then slipped off a toy chest and couldn't escape. Their dad then came upstairs and saw Ariani lifeless. He called the paramedics, but sadly she never regained consciousness. She was buried in a tiara in a fairy princess dress with her nails freshly painted. Her parents believe that TikTok's algorithm fed the Blackout Challenge to Ariani on her cell phone.
We are not living, we are surviving. Because every day we wake up and we're not hearing her say, I love you. We're not hugging her. We're not holding her. And anybody that has to go through what we've experienced, that's what's going to be the outcome. And we're here to make sure that there is education.
Where in God's name did you think that putting a rope around your neck, a chain around your neck, is something wise to put out there? And reality is, I feel that, like everybody, they should be held accountable for their actions. My daughter is gone. Other kids are gone. There's darker sides to TikTok than what they're exposing.
Why did you decide that you wanted to file a lawsuit against TikTok for wrongful death?
Well, first, yeah, they're responsible. I feel that they're responsible for it. Second of all, right now we need to save every other child that's out there. They need to make changes. And because other kids can be still vulnerable for this.
I think it's really important to remember that TikTok doesn't want the Blackout Challenge to exist on its platform, and it has taken steps to try and remove content. So way back in January of 2021, after the first child's death was linked to the Blackout Challenge and connected to TikTok, the company decided to scrub the ability to search for Blackout Challenge content on the app. They have updated their community guidelines to say they ban any kind of content that glorifies dangerous or harmful behaviour. They've also trained their moderators to look out for Blackout Challenge or other dangerous challenges that are spreading across their sites. They are removing this content. But despite all these safety measures, the deaths kept happening. We found that the blackout challenge was cited as the cause of more than a dozen deaths of children throughout 2021. And I think the biggest legal question for all of these lawsuits that we're seeing coming up in the courts today is, can you prove that TikTok's algorithm sent that blackout challenge content to the child's phone?
This is her chest where some of her stuff. This is her birth announcement. These are her 3rd grade photos. I know it's been almost 2 years, but it just still feels like yesterday. It's a feeling that just takes the breath out of you. It's just a heaviness on your chest. Grief is so hard, and everything I do is just like really reflects off of what I feel she would want me to do. And I really believe that this fight is because that's what she would want me to do. And that's why I'm fighting for her and all these kids. Because I believe that's what she would want.
So TikTok was created in 2016 by ByteDance, a big company based out of China. It actually took a while for it to gain traction. It wasn't until 2018 that TikTok really blew up, and that was because ByteDance bought this lip-syncing app called Musical.ly. And at the time, Musical.ly had about 200 million users. Many of these were under the age of 13. This violated the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which is a law that says children under the age of 13, you can't collect their data. In order to abide by all of these regulations, TikTok has created a version of its app in the US that is targeted to kids under the age of 13, and it's called TikTok for Younger Users. It really tailors the content to be suitable to kids, and it doesn't target them with advertising, but kids know how to get around it. They just enter the wrong date of birth. TikTok will tell us that age assurance is an industry-wide issue. But in the last year, we've seen a number of companies partner with third-party content moderation providers. What these providers can do is run machine learning age prediction models that isn't collecting any data on the individual. It doesn't raise privacy concerns, but what it does do is estimate how old that user is and is highly efficient. I sent a video of Ariane Arroyo to Hive. This is one of those artificial intelligence content moderation companies that does age prediction for other big platforms like Twitter and Reddit. And it took Hive's technology 3 seconds to estimate that Ariane was 10 years old. She died just 3 months shy of her 10th birthday. TikTok has also met with these third-party content moderation providers. They ultimately decided not to deploy this technology because there were fears it could stoke further suspicions around China spying on young users.
Wow, okay. Is that something that you can share?
No, what I say is that the way these products were designed, it was impossible for parents to exercise a meaningful oversight of their children. What's occurring now is what an economist would call an externality. The costs of these unsafe social media products are borne by parents, they're borne by teachers, they're borne by law enforcement, medical providers, psychologists, clergy. The costs are not being borne by the entities making the product. We think that product liability provides an independent way to hold these companies accountable, not for publishing third-party content, but for designing algorithms that hurt kids. If they actually have to pay the cost of their dangerous products, they are going to have the economic incentive to design safer products. Cars are a lot safer than they were in 1950. They're a lot more safer than they were in 1980. And a big reason for that is that the concept of product liability creates the incentive on automobile manufacturers to think proactively to design safer products. And it is our hope that the same thing can be done here, and that 5 years from now, children will be having positive experiences on social media, and that these horrific outcomes like Ariane Arroyo will have stopped.
This whole situation has placed us in a, you know, everything's almost like red flags, you know. Eduardo going to school, again, he's going by himself. It's another thought. We don't know what the long-term effect is on him.
You know, you're doing the best you can, and that's all you can do. That's all you can do. And, you know, we've got a long road ahead of us, but we've already made a difference, and you've already made a difference. You've already blessed a lot of people through her memory. I think it is the most innate human emotion is protecting your kids. These were parents that thought they were doing the right thing, thought they were being responsible, and then just the profound guilt that these parents are feeling is unfathomable.
Fix the cross in her A. Yep, see?
Hi, baby. It's my baby.
Social media has been designed to put things out there, to put content out there to make kids believe that either they're not enough or they're not good enough, or they have to be this way. These challenges, I feel, just like manipulate the mind to think like, if I can conquer this, if I can do this, you know, I have purpose. You don't need none of that to have purpose in life. We need to, as parents, remind our children what purpose is and help them and direct them to finding their real purpose in life, because social media is not it.
These social media companies are giant billion-dollar Goliaths, and they will all claim that safety is their number one priority. But when you speak to insiders, to those who work on trust and safety teams tasked with keeping these platforms safe, the message I hear time and time again is that user safety is not the number one priority, that growth is the number one priority, making more money is the number one priority, and being the biggest app in the world is the number one priority. That's true of TikTok, and that's true of other social media platforms as well. As we've seen more and more children be harmed through social media, we're now starting to ask, have these companies been doing enough? Do they really want to protect and keep their users safe? Or are they just doing the bare minimum to avoid being held liable against existing privacy laws? Children have been dying using these platforms, and these questions aren't going to stop.